And a cut. Perfect.
Did you say pizzazz?
Yeah, pizzazz. I think we got it, yeah.
He doesn't shout. He doesn't panic. Nolan doesn't direct the room. He bends time until the room fits him. And when something breaks that rhythm, it's over.
I'm a very controlled and controlling filmmaker. And I don't often shift something as important as that.
His films fracture reality, but his sets are crystal clear. Nolan works in clockwork, sync, silence, structure. If an actor throws off even one gear, the machine stops. Or worse, it recalibrates without them. And once Nolan stops seeing you in the equation, you're already out. He's not confrontational, he's not cruel, he just removes the variable and never plugs it back in. Inception, Interstellar, Dunkirk, Oppenheimer. They're cinematic equations, brutally clean. No wasted lines, no wasted faces.
3 years, 4,000 people, $2 billion. If it doesn't go off, we're both finished.
And if you think that means actors get creative freedom, think again. There's no improvisation in a Nolan scene, no chaotic genius, only calibration.
The dailies on that film is that we would do a lot of takes. We would do 10, 12 takes of anything.
He's worked with titans, Bale, Cillian Murphy, DiCaprio, Washington, Tom Hardy. But not everyone earned a second shot. Here are the 6 actors Nolan quietly removed from the blueprint and never looked back. Number 1. David Bowie. Some directors want control, Nolan demands it, and that's where David Bowie didn't fit. In The Prestige, Bowie wasn't just cast, he was summoned. Nolan had written the role of Nikola Tesla specifically for him. No second choices, no backups, just Bowie. The studio pushed for a safer name. Nolan said no. Bowie didn't chase roles, he avoided them. At that point in his life, he was already deep into his reclusive phase, off-grid, off-camera, off-script. When he finally agreed, it was quiet, conditional, and very Bowie. He didn't want rehearsals, he didn't want long conversations, he didn't even want direction. One crew member later said, "You could feel the tension. Nolan respected him, but he couldn't control him." Nolan, known for running intricate sets with mechanical precision, was suddenly dealing with instinctive, dreamlike chaos. Bowie tweaked lines, resisted retakes, vanished between setups without a word.
You're familiar with the phrase, man's reach exceeds his grasp.
The performances worked, the tension stayed off camera. But behind the scenes, Nolan was reportedly frustrated. One assistant called the entire experience a beautiful headache. And Nolan doesn't do headaches twice. This wasn't about failure, it was about friction. Bowie brought gravity, unpredictability, and myth. Nolan couldn't take it, and he never tried again. Bowie gave Nolan the perfect Tesla, and Nolan gave him nothing else. One performance, one film, one impossible repeat. Number 2, Anne Hathaway. On camera, she was perfect. Off camera, something cracked. Anne Hathaway joined Nolan's world in The Dark Knight Rises, a world of shadows, stoicism, and strict boundaries. But Hathaway? She's expressive, emotional, bright. She walks in with Broadway timing and Disney eyes. Nolan's sets don't always absorb that. She trained obsessively for Catwoman, hours of fight choreography, months of stunts, and it showed. Her performance was electric. But behind the scenes, her energy didn't match Nolan's tempo. One crew member described it like plugging a violin into an amplifier. Beautiful, but too loud. There were rumors about takes being redone, not because of performance, but tone. She brought too much sparkle, too much rhythm. Nolan doesn't shoot charm, he shoots weight. She was incredible, one producer admitted, but sometimes it felt like 2 different movies. On set, Nolan reportedly kept distance, polite, professional, but always guarded, not cold, but clinical. He praised her performance publicly, but once Rises wrapped, he never cast her again.
Wayne wasn't kidding about a powerful friend. I sold his prince to Daggett.
And Hathaway noticed. In interviews, she's spoken with vague admiration, never bitterness, but never warmth either. Like she knew she passed the test, but still didn't get the job. Some say it was a mismatch, others say it was the wrong film, the wrong time. But in Nolan's world, you don't get rewrites, you get removed. Hathaway nailed the role, but she never got a sequel. Not in Nolan's universe. Number 3. Hilary Swank. It was supposed to be a clean collaboration. But for Christopher Nolan, insomnia turned out to be one of his most frustrating experiences, not because of the story, not because of the pressure, but because of chemistry. Hilary Swank joined Insomnia opposite Al Pacino and Robin Williams. Big shoes, big shadows, and yet she held her own, technically flawless, emotionally grounded. She did everything by the book, and that was the problem. Nolan likes actors who go beyond instinct, who disappear into roles. With Swank, he reportedly got polished professionalism. What he didn't get was unpredictability. One assistant on set recalled, "She hit her marks, delivered her lines, but it never felt like it was alive." Nolan, who obsessively fine-tunes emotion through tone and silence, apparently grew impatient. Swank wanted clarity, questions answered, choices explained. Nolan, on the other hand, prefers ambiguity. He gives you the framework, not the map. There was no shouting, no conflict, just distance, silence. And once Insomnia wrapped, Nolan quietly cut ties.
Detective Dormer, it's such an honor to meet you. I'm Detective Ellie Burke. Welcome to Night Mute.
Swank's performance was praised by critics, but it's telling that she never even came close to being cast in another Nolan project. In interviews since, she never mentions the experience. And Nolan, he's never name-dropped her, not once. Some say she was too structured for him. Others say she lacked that edge Nolan craves, something messy, something dark, something just a little bit unstable. In Nolan's world, precision isn't enough. It's about what bleeds through. Swank gave him control, but what he wanted was chaos. Number 4. Guy Pearce. He was the face of Memento, the anchor of Nolan's breakout. But the relationship? It never evolved past that. Guy Pearce gave Nolan one of the most grounded human performances of his early career. As Leonard Shelby, he was fragmented, restrained, and deeply internal. Perfect for Nolan's cerebral storytelling. And yet, after Memento, Pearce vanished from the director's roster completely. No cameos, no supporting roles, nothing. At first, it didn't raise eyebrows. But over time, the absence became louder than any statement, especially when Nolan began reusing actors, Kane, Murphy, Bale, Hardy, over and over. Pearce, completely left out. So what happened? According to those close to the production, Pearce asked too many questions, wanted too much emotional access to a script designed like a puzzle. Nolan preferred actors who trusted the illusion. Pearce tried to solve it. One crew member reportedly said, "Guy wanted to understand everything. Chris wanted him to feel it. They weren't speaking the same language." There was also tension over improvisation. Pearce, coming from Australian cinema, was used to flexibility. Nolan, by contrast, operates with military structure down to the frame. The result? Pearce's natural instincts got boxed in.
Beg my wife's forgiveness before I blow your brains out.
And that tension didn't create the kind of volatility Nolan thrives on. It created friction. Quiet, professional, unresolved friction. To this day, Pearce is proud of the film. He's called it the most challenging of his career, but there's no warmth when he speaks of Nolan, just distance. And Nolan. He's never said a word about why he never called Pearce again. Number 5. Matthew McConaughey. It should have been a partnership that stretched across galaxies. Instead, it ended the moment the cameras stopped rolling. When Christopher Nolan cast Matthew McConaughey as Cooper in Interstellar, it felt like a masterstroke. McConaughey was fresh off a career renaissance. Dallas Buyers Club, True Detective, the so-called McConaissance. He brought rawness, warmth, and that southern drawl Nolan usually avoids. But that warmth? It was never fully welcomed. Nolan's vision for Interstellar was emotional, yes, but controlled. Clean lines, buried pain, metaphysical awe. McConaughey, on the other hand, came in hot, full of personal stories, instinctual choices, and unfiltered improvisation. Behind the scenes, it created tension. He wanted looser takes, Nolan wanted clockwork precision. A studio executive later revealed, Chris would give direction and Matthew would nod, then go and do something completely different, not out of defiance, just instinct. Even more challenging? McConaughey's constant push for spiritual clarity. He wanted to discuss love, loss, God, connection. Nolan, not interested. He was there to discuss gravity equations and timeline structures.
This was a much larger picture. I will say this, and it's a compliment to the process, even though this went on for 5 months.
Despite the friction, Interstellar became a hit. But the partnership ended abruptly. No future roles, no callbacks, no post-film bonding. McConaughey still talks about the film, lovingly, but always like it was Nolan's vision, not a shared one. And Nolan, he's praised the film, but never the actor. It's not personal, it's precision. And for Nolan, the moment instinct overshadows intention, the door quietly closes. McConaughey delivered the emotion, but Nolan never needed the heart on the sleeve. Number 6. Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He was supposed to be Nolan's next golden collaborator, a new DiCaprio, a new Bale. Instead, he became a one-time wonder. Joseph Gordon-Levitt slid into Nolan's cinematic world with Inception. He nailed the balance, sharp, precise, emotionally detached when needed, subtly vulnerable when it counted. He embodied the architect of Nolan's imagination, calculated, efficient, unshakable. But then, silence. After Inception, Levitt disappeared from Nolan's lineup. No roles in The Dark Knight Rises, not even a whisper in Dunkirk or Tenet. It left fans wondering, what happened? Insiders suggest it wasn't a dramatic fallout. It was worse, artistic mismatch. Gordon-Levitt, known for being collaborative and idea-driven, reportedly brought too much input to the table. Nolan doesn't do collaborative. He directs. You deliver. One production insider noted, Joseph wanted to explore layers, Chris wanted silence. They were solving two different puzzles. And there was also the matter of tone. Levitt brings sincerity and youth. Nolan leans towards severity and philosophical weight. The energy just didn't align. Even when there were rumors of Nolan building a Robin spin-off, that idea vanished before it ever hit paper. In interviews, Gordon-Levitt has remained respectful, often sidestepping direct praise or critique. Nolan, in turn, never references him. It's as if Inception was a brief shared hallucination, and the waking world didn't bring them back together. It wasn't a clash, it was a fade-out. Levitt played the part Nolan gave him, flawlessly. But in Nolan's universe, perfection isn't enough. Longevity only belongs to those who echo his rhythm. Some directors thrive on creative chaos. Nolan? He thrives on precision, and that means even the most talented actors, Oscar winners, cult icons, scene stealers, don't always survive a second round. Working with Nolan isn't about fame, it's about fit. And if you can't move in perfect sync with the ticking machinery of his vision, you're out. Think we missed someone? Or did one of these names surprise you? Let us know in the comments. And if you want more deep dives like this, make sure to like, subscribe, and keep watching till the very end. Because the next story might just flip your whole perspective.